Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's message. We are sharing this on April 1st, 2023. And let's take a couple nice deep breaths. Interesting. Okay, good start. All right. I'm going right in. Whoops, this all, guys. This. Okay. Okay. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to share with this community. It's a unique experience for this wider range of energy, which we'll refer to as us and the team, to be able to share with a community like this without specific reference points. There, as most of you that are in a community like this are aware of other, let's say, alternatives and substitutes, other options that you have for a message of this tone and variety. And most of the individuals that are doing that, other than Jill, tend to be practitioners of astrology or practitioners of devoted teachers that they're very devoted to. And that offers a beautiful pathway for those channelers, if you will, into a message and into guidance and things like that. So it's very rare and unique for us as a expanded energy to be able to interact with, and as Jill, without those reference points. She's not devoted to a specific teacher or set of teaching. She's not a practitioner of astrology or numerology. So it's very unique even for us to interact with Jill, because there is an openness, and her reference points are more about values in what she is and what she chooses to align herself as us, and, if you will, as her team. Values such as she wants it to be loving of everyone, including loving of herself. She wants the information and the energy to be assisting anyone receiving it and feeling closer to the connection of God that they are, versus separated from it. She expects it to be, because of the love for self and love for all others, she expects it to be respectful of humanity and honoring of humanity, and not condescending of humanity as species, as a sentient life form on Earth. So that alone kind of starts the ball in a different direction when we interact with her. Her very hardwired brain for logic and reason is also, it's not that that's unique. There's a lot of logical and reasonable channelers in your world at your time and at other times. But the way that she does it from a very analytical, strategic for benefit, benevolence, not malevolence, not to manipulate, but again, to expand source energy in your reality, offers another context, because she challenges the information that's coming through. And that changed the tone of how we interact with Jill from the very beginning, when she would say, are you sure about that? That doesn't make sense. What about this? What about that? She tends to ask almost all the questions that a receiver of channeling would ask, if and when they choose to be very logical and reasonable, and using their brain for that form of intelligence, even when it's a channeled message. So when and this is, you'll understand more why we're even talking in this way with you. What we noticed over time, as we look at channeled information and channeler beings, and those that connect to source energy on behalf of others, is that those that have, let's say, gotten into trouble in a cult-like following or a cult-ish type of codependent relationship with their community is that they chose to not question. They chose to put all information that they felt like they were getting on a pedestal of, well, it came from God, it must be good. They turned off their reasoning skills. They turned off their logic centers of their brain, and that can go well, but sometimes it doesn't. So when we look at all the codependent type of systems and codependent ideas that make humans feel less than their godliness, we can point to a channeler that fell into that disposition of, well, it's channeled, so it must be accurate. Okay, thank you. So what we see happening now when we really look at the, let's say, the sea of channeled type information, because we're keeping track of this even when Jill isn't, is that there was a sense of sameness for quite a while, and then once the pandemic happened, the coronavirus, that situation, that experience, there was sort of there was a split for some, and there was a lot of confusion for some because they were being looked to in a different way. Some people sought out channeled information for very different reasons and very different applications of life. I mean, it was rare that in any other era somebody was looking to a channeler to make a decision about their health or about health related choices. So that put some unwelcomed pressure on some of the channelers. And for some, it added unwelcomed or unexpected pleasure because they felt, some of the channelers felt that their role had raised to a level of importance that they hadn't felt before. They felt more prime time than they had in the past. They felt less fringe and they felt more mainstream in a good way in terms of popularity and maybe even monetization. So that sense of, oh, wow, they're really listening now, really was interesting. And again, some are better than others at applying logic and reason and willingness to recognize that there isn't one answer for things, and that it is, and Jill accepted this early on, and just in general with their giftedness, is there is a beautiful union between channeled energies and information along with reasoning skills, and this is why we feel this way, this is why we're saying this, and we appreciate free will, and we are prompting you to think for yourself and decide for yourself whether you agree with us or not. That again is the antidote to the codependent relationship that can happen in some channeling communities and in channeled energy situations. By the way, to us, all religions fit, all your organized religions fit in this conversation just as much as more of a loosely organized community that has a legacy and a tradition of followers. Okay. Okay. So also in the context of what we're observing today is, and again, it tends to be highly affected by the fact that so many channelers are practitioners of astrology. We observe that for many, there is the sense of this is the pattern, these are the alignments that are happening, these are the positions astrologically, astronomically, that are happening. And this is how traditionally they have affected humanity. We don't know if you've noticed, but humans don't always act traditionally. And many of you act in a very individually inspired way. And we hope that our version of channeling is supporting that in you. It's very possible that the majority of you that love these types of messages in this community, alongside, not following the person of the channeler as Jill, alongside her, that you enjoy thinking for yourself. You enjoy taking in information and then deciding, choosing for yourself what you agree with and what you don't agree with. You are not blindly following. So we've noticed that pattern, and we applaud you, because that's what we're here for too. It is the individual spirit of the individualized spirit within source that is for us the true evolution and authentic evolution of humanity. Humans are not, they're not a herd, they're not a herd mentality. When you look to the leadership and creator energy construct of humanity, but humans can be herded, and they can very much act like a herded species, and just follow along, especially when they've given up their agency, when they feel like they trust others more than themselves, when they are putting someone or someone's ideas or traditions on a pedestal ahead of their own traditions and their own sense of self and own sense of community. Those are all kind of those are all variables that happen when a group of humans is being misled, or led unwittingly to a place of less agency, and sometimes um, sometimes their demise. We love humanity. All of us that we call the team have been incarnated before, are incarnated. We could look at it that way, as well as we are incarnated as a collection that calls itself Jill, which is why she's never felt like it was a higher power above her. She's always felt like it was her. Just notice the distinction between a range and a depth, a breadth of source energy communicating to humans, very well understanding humanity because we have been there and it was by choice, compared to a range and a depth and a breadth of source energy that has never incarnated before, that is almost searching for a spokesperson, a spokeshuman, to represent their views, to advocate their ideologies, and to be heard within humanity. But they've never had an interest. They, as the source range, has never actually had an interest in incarnating, may have very different interests in terms of wanting to, some of those energies do not want to promote the agency of humanity. They enjoy the suppression of humanity because they have varying interests. So it's not that it's not source, it's that it has a very different value system. And that's why we started with that at the beginning, so that you can decide. Most of those, it is source energy though, and that's probably confusing. Jill's definitely saying you guys need to explain this, because from most of the human perspective, especially in a community like this, there is a sense that, well, if it's source energy, it's automatically benevolent. And that's true, it is benevolent, but there can be, let's say, conflicting value systems that aren't as, let's say, vested or interested in the longevity of humanity, or the continuing the structure of humanity such that it allows for source energy to incarnate as a human, with benevolent purposes and benevolent intentions, and not just for a short-term container opportunity, but a indefinite container opportunity, incarnation experience. I have to get a drink, hang on. Okay. So we're not saying that part to incite fear. We're sharing that part to incite discernment. And all humans have the capacity for very intelligent discernment. Some have gotten very much out of practice of discernment. They forgot what it's like to question someone that they have viewed as an authority figure. Some individuals have never given themselves permission to disagree with someone that they respect and admire and like. Mm. So there have been swirlings, kind of indefinitely, but definitely for certain starting at the beginning of 2023 about these very unique cycles and patterns that are very meaningful, um, astrological and astronomical patterns that were also in play during the US Civil War, things like that. That tends to go, oh, that sounds serious. So again, there are so many that are incarnated right now to not repeat past mistakes, to not fall into a pattern of suppressing humanity's greatness and glory. There are more than enough humans incarnated right now to change the course of history, to stop in their own tracks, even when they are headed down a path of just lack of reasoning, lack of logic, unintelligence even. Um, Humans are all throughout history, backwards, present, and forward, capable of being misled, capable of being disillusioned, capable of being manipulated and controlled, and all the while capable of going, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. My gut says this is off. I feel like I'm under a spell with this person or in this community or with this belief system. And being under a spell is a sign of lack of agency. It's a lack of critical thinking. And humans do best when they have access and are utilizing their own critical thinking. Is it harder to be a human that way? Does it take more energy? Yes, but it's more than worth it. So, any patterns that some of you may have heard about that are meaningful and big and significant and a channeler that is more than willing to insert some ideas in the blanks of, and that means this, and watch out for that, in a very leading you by the nose kind of way, leading you like a herded animal kind of way. Um, think for yourself. Is it prompting your agency and asking you, is this what you want? Because those of you in the bodysuit are the best equipped to change the course of actions and make history with something that makes you smile and pleased and proud that you were in a bodysuit at that time. And you said yes to things that even from your wider self, you're glad you said yes to. And you said no, or you said, wait, hang on a minute, in a way that makes you overjoyed that you had a human container to operate in that moment, in that era. And it doesn't have to be on the front lines. It doesn't have to be in the middle of some brouhaha that someone has orchestrated. Brouhahas tend to be orchestrated. Masses of people and excited and frothing types of situations tend to be orchestrated. They don't tend to be organic. It doesn't tend to be a group of people that just happen to be somewhere. They were told to be somewhere, and they were probably told why. Another form of lack of agency is when a human is asked or prompted or even begged, commanded to stop everything in your life because this thing over here is more important than anything in your life. Those are calling cards for you don't matter. Your agency is only useful when it's put to this use and this purpose. Incredibly disrespectful, disingenuous, and it's highly manipulative. Whatever you're doing in your life matters to source energy. It may feel less valuable, it may feel more mundane than some of the other kind of passion projects that any group as source energy even has. And this is where your agency comes into form so beautifully, because maybe it is in a message offered like this that helps you notice more clearly. Are you allowing your fullness of your source energy to be present within you, within your life? No matter who says it's not important, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or what are you thinking, having a boring career that's not spiritual enough, or is only this or only that, or you're only this role or you're only that role, or where do you live? Who could live there? Kinds of things. There's so much demeaning going on, not just by humans, but also by representatives that are claiming that it is of source energy. And yet it's a skewed version of it, or it's a, let's say, tainted version of it. And these are some of the almost warning signs that we would like for you to look out for. Because it matters, because you matter, because your life matters, because all humans have source energy. And we would love for more humans to feel prompted by their own sense of a gut reaction, their own sense of an inspired idea, their own sense of what feels loving of them and loving of everybody, looking for the win-win, looking for the fifth dimensional energy range and above and wider, that they know the difference between the version of so-called wisdom that's coming through. When we look across time, past, present, and future, our most memorable, remarkable moments of wisdom within humanity was not dispensed to the human. It was inspired via the human. It was the union of their source energy and their humanity coming up with the most amazing idea or answer or theory. They were very much, they as their human were integral to that process, very much a member of the team of gloriousness in those moments. It wasn't a piece of candy being handed to a helpless, hopeless, witless child. Okay, thank you for considering that piece of this message. Let's talk about resurrection. What is being resurrected? In Christianity, it is one person with the, let's use the word loosely, promise of all humans at some point that follow him as Jesus, the way the book is written anyway, not the way he told it. We love this idea today in this message offered to you, this notion of the resurgence, the resurrection of the source energy within you being fully online as your humanness, in union with your humanness, in conjunction with your human experience, prompting a sense of wholeness and completeness that you've never felt before, prompting a sense of grace and compassion with yourself for any of what you consider your shortcomings, that none of those shortcomings could ever be in the way or bother the source energy that you are, the godliness that you are. There's the grace. Perfect. So what do you want to be with that? Notice we did not say do. What do you want to be, knowing that that's available to you, has always been available to you, and has never not been available to you? Do you want to be even more loving? Do you want to be even more compassionate? Do you want to be even more discerning? Do you want to be even more dedicated to you and your life as you define it and as you create it? Do you want to be more gentle with yourself and more forgiving of you? Do you want to be more forgiving and accepting of others? Do you want to be more engaged with fellow humans or less engaged with fellow humans? Do you want to be more outwardly bold or more inwardly content? We love that these choices, as you consider them, don't have to be emphatic across all the roles and responsibilities that you are as your individual human, that they can operate on a spectrum of very fluid and dynamic, increasing and decreasing as you go, and that it doesn't even have to be consistent. You can be full of surprises, even surprising yourself with who and what you are in certain experiences and certain moments. And for some of you, it is in those experiences of surprising yourself where you feel the most alive and you feel the most like the source energy you are. Because source energy, as what we know as source energy, it loves to surprise itself. It taps into the infinite nature of the source energy we are. If we as source energy knew exactly how everything would go, that would be so boring. It would be, by definition, finite, not infinite. There would be no curiosity and no wondering. There would be no whatabouts. And we love whatabouts. There we go. That was a spell broken. That was a good spell breaking right there. Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. We just felt some of you say, so I don't have to know how things will go. Yes, precisely. And we're sorry you were under the impression that it meant that you needed to know. If you were operating as your source energy, you needed to know how things would go. And what does that say about others that are indicating they're connecting to source energy or connecting as source energy, and they pretend they know exactly how things are going to go? There can be high probabilities of how things will go, but still there is always the room for for some other outcome happening. It may be slim, and it is important to look at those probabilities for yourself and consider those as you move forward in your life. But yeah, it's required to have the room for chance within humanity. because it's part of the nature, the laws of being infinite. Not knowing how things will go, not needing to know how things will go, not assuming, not pretending one knows exactly how things will go. So how do you handle the uncertainty and the fear that can come along with uncertainty of not knowing how things will go? How about be ready to flood it, to flood you, to flood the situation with love, no matter what happens? That's our answer. Are you ready to love it in a way that is pure godliness? Love the players. Be completely disappointed if somebody got hurt, when somebody gets hurt, when things go in a way that were destructive. That range of godliness that can say, yikes, I didn't want it to go that way. I'm so sorry that happened. I was hoping it would go well too. I was hoping it would go well too. As our godliness, we are always hoping things will go well. We aren't only hoping things will go well just because there was a certain person, or they've done the right things, or they deserve it, or they've done their work. We don't do that. And you don't have to either. Why would one not want things to go well? Why would one want things to lead to suffering? We have the most logical answer. Because they were assuming that hard lessons and potentially pain and suffering would lead to lessons. Does it? Does pain and suffering mean lessons? Not for everybody. Not for a lot of people. Not for a lot of humans. Sometimes ever. And that's hard. And some of you are probably thinking, how could they not learn? How could they not know? How could they not see? They just don't. The human design allows for them not to see, not to learn, not to know. Hard. It's hard to be a human and be amidst that. And the more you see it, the harder it is. It feels reckless. We're sharing the road with these people. We're sharing their voting. What are we going to do about those people? Careful. What are you wanting to do with their agency in that moment? We understand why there are collections, contingencies of source energy that have never incarnated and that will never incarnate. It's hard. But how do you make it? How is it possible to really dedicate yourself to the godliness and the gloriousness and the goodness of humanity without getting all the way in a bodysuit and doing it for yourself? We've already talked about how a lot of humans don't listen. So what is a megaphone going to do? Even when they're right standing next to a human, they sometimes humans don't listen. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, can't we have some sort of a screening test? That in order to be human, you have to have a certain criteria for what your intentions are, and are you going to hold yourself accountable for your own choices and your own behavior? Can't we fix it that way? we've tried that. How does that feel as a gut agreement or disagreement with that? We've in some ways we feel like we've tried everything to see if we could make humanity less painful. Mm. This free will and agency part is very complex. And what we have realized is that that agency and free will comes with various downsides. And the overall design that allows for source energy to create a human and be love from its human, even with its even when it's imperfect, even when it's not the perfect dad or the perfect mom or the perfect child or the perfect leader or the perfect neighbor. It wasn't all bad. There were bright spots and beautiful moments and sometimes spans of glory that were just unforgettable and quite a wow and more than worth it. So from our range of self, we can be endlessly forgiving for any shortcomings of humanity. And that's an attribute of godliness. And we would love for you to consider that in how you operate yourself. Some of you have very high standards for how you are. Some of you have impossible standards for how you are. And for some of you that works. For some of you that helps you be your best you. And for others of you, it deprives you of feeling the sense of joy within your human experience that can allow you to feel appreciative of who and what you are, even if it's just in a more superficial kind of context of, well, at least I get to be being not that person. I'm glad I'm me, right? Not in an arrogant way, but whew, I kind of like my choices better than I like their choices for themselves. And I like how this decision went, and I'm worried for them with that decision. Hmm. Some of you compare to others, not horrible. Some of you use it for the, like, let's make a win-win out of realizing I'm glad I'm me and not someone else. Some of you are very against comparing, and that's okay too. If that formula, if that approach works for you, then so be it. If that helps you be your best you and gives you the best access to your source energy, then we do not want to get in your way. There are tricks to this, right? There are tricks to you being the human you most want to be, not when, now, at all times. That you know you have access to it, even if you don't choose it all the time. You know you had access to a version of you was and is glorious, capable of gloriousness. Is that part hard? Is there a part of you that feels like, oh no, glorious? That's not something I would consider myself. And it feels dangerous to consider my human as glorious. Why? Would your glorious mean taking away anything from anyone else? What if your glorious meant adding something incredible, spellbinding in all the right ways to anyone or anything around you? What if you being glorious restores the glorious frameworks within all living things within your vicinity? What if it nurtures the gloriousness even from living sentient objects that are not within your vicinity? What if you allowing and living your gloriousness, even if it's just for a moment, restores and nurtures and sponsors the glorious framework of all life across all time, within all space? What if it is like a dark, beautiful, dark night and a star just turned on? And anyone paying attention within space time said, "Whoa, I haven't seen that one before. It's beautiful." We like that metaphor for resurrection. We love the idea of godliness, of light, of benevolence, of a loving agency and a loving agent, more and more present within humanity. Being cautious about what it may mean or what it may lead to, but a lot of reasons to be optimistic and every reason to be hopeful. And every moment that something glorious could and may happen. And would you do us a favor, because so many of you have these really high standards? When something glorious happens, would you please let yourself smile and go, wow? Just like you would if you were looking up in the night sky with the eyes that were like the best telescope ever. And you said, oh, there's a new star. It just came on. Like you discovered the coolest thing ever. And you were there to say, cool, to say good job, to say, hey, I saw that. Or hey, I was that. And it wasn't taking anything away from the ability for the night to be dark. It wasn't taking anything away from the light that you are or the light in others. It just wanted to shine. So it did. And you do. Because in so many ways, humans are our favorite stars. And that's why we choose to come through as a human, to you as humans. Because to us, you're amazing. I just felt Saul and Gaia say, they really are. They really are. And we all benefit from them knowing that and feeling that and being that, choosing that as their identity. For those of you celebrating Passover, happy Passover. For those of you celebrating Easter, happy Easter. For those of you celebrating Ramadan, happy Ramadan. Ramadan Kareem? Is that the expression? Just trying to remember from the Egypt trip exactly last year at this time, which was also during Ramadan. Ah, thank you to what I know as my team, me, and what I know as all of our teams. Thank you to that wider range of ourselves and the way you make yourselves available. And thank you to all of the fellow channelers across time. Just hugs and love. I want good things for everybody. There we go. Whew. Okay. Thank you. All right, I'll hang out here a little bit. If there's anything that you guys want to add or offer from this experience today, thank you for staying on topic from what we've talked about today. I appreciate that. If it feels related to you, then it's like beckoned, or you don't have to say anything. Some of you are all in your space of starlight, and that's perfect. Okay. Mm, mm. And thank you for being here. I'm sensing we'll share this publicly at some point. Thank you. I I hope you received everything and more that could support your agency and your godliness and the source energy you are. That's one of the goals, at least. Okay. Mm. Thank you for your support as well. Mm. Yeah, I will say that. There's a part of my Jill that there's a big part of my Jill, actually. And maybe it's especially because of the other choices I made in my life and what I chose for my undergraduate and graduate degrees, and what I chose as my profession for the first decades of my career. There's a part of me that's way more comfortable, and this part still feels strange and uncomfortable in a lot of ways. So the support that I do get from this community, really appreciating how differently I am, and I hope every channeler considers themselves a unique and individual representation of source energy they are. But I definitely often feel like um, the person. I use this joke all the time. I regularly feel like the person selling steak at a vegan convention. Um, I don't get invited to a lot of things because of that. Part of me accepts that. Part of me takes that hard because I know the true spirit, literally, of what we're offering. So to feel in some ways as my Jill excluded when I got so many accolades and things in business in my business career that it feels quiet, and I have a beautifully um, tight knit community that I absolutely cherish. And I think in some ways, if it weren't for you guys, I would have stopped doing this a long time ago. It would have just been like that. This isn't catching on. This isn't, we're still not getting wedded to this or to that. And they don't get us. And we're not an astrologer. So they don't understand. And we're not talking about patterns. We're not saying, hey, this month there's this alignment and it means this. And so don't do this and do lots of that. I mean, that's just not, and I love it that the team started off with what they did, because it even adds for my Jill context of, okay, this is why we do this. But it is very niche. It's niche within a niche, and that's not always fun. So anyway, just I guess what I really want to say is thank you for those of you that appreciate it and support it. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, because that part of my Jill that likes the Atta girls, I thank you. Thank you. Wish I didn't need those, but I do. I do. I admit it. Okay. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying. Hi, Anne. Oh, glasses. Okay. Hi, Anne. She's saying beautiful. It was exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you. You are so welcome. Hi, Frances. She's saying what a wonderful message, allowing it to sink in more deeply. Love the articulation, the resurrection in particular. Thank you, Jill, for always allowing the widest possible expression. Love you and appreciate you. XX. Kiss, kiss back to you, Frances. And then she said, "We love being in your niche." I love being in your niche. There isn't anyone else I would rather be. So it's not that. And yeah, yeah, I love being in your niche. There is nowhere else I'd rather be. There could be other things I'm doing with my life. I don't have to dedicate all of my Jill to this work, but I will show up every day for a message like this. It just there's no one I'd rather be than this message. There's nowhere I'd rather be than right here with you during this message. So thank you for, yeah. And for those of you that this type of thing is not weird and has never been weird, bless you. Because there's still a part of my Jill going, this is so bizarre. How do I, when Jeff and I go out to dinner with people, or I meet, I talk to people that I used to work with in corporate or whatever, they're like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, I don't know how to describe this. I've got a crystal in front of me. What did we just do? How do I explain this? And part of me is like, I don't even want to try because it won't begin to hold magic and they don't get it. So why even try and describe? But yeah, anyway. Yeah. Okay. Oh, beautifully. Okay. Hi, Elka. There's someone that did a direct message, so I can't say who it's from. But for whoever sent the direct message, let me know if it's okay for me to read what you wrote because it is really beautiful what you wrote. And I think you meant it for everybody. And it doesn't say it's you. So if you want anonymity, you'll have it. Hello, Elka. She's saying so beautiful. And for myself, I find it going so well with the Easter message from Jesus. Oh, Elka, me too. I was curious as I was waking up today, like, I feel like we're going to have some form of an Easter message, but we also got an Easter message already in the online open house when Adriana asked for one and prompted it. So, yes, I love this one relative to that one too. I agree. Lisa, thank you. She said, "Atta girl, Joe." I love you guys. This was such a supportive and affirming message during tough times in my life. Oh, Lisa, I love you so much. And I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you, Zoom user, to remain anonymous. And she just said, sorry, I did mean it for everyone. Good. Then I'll read what you wrote earlier. Thank you so very much. So directly to my heart center. Thank you to the wider range of me that feels this is so spectacularly uplifted. Oh, I love your words, sister. Okay. All right, you guys. I think that might be a wrap. Yeah. Mm, feels complete to me too. Thank you. Thank you. Mm. Whew. Okay. Very good. Okay. We've got a lot more for anyone that liked this and you've never heard of me before, or you thought you didn't like me, but you like this. Who knows? Maybe you do like steak and not only not only vegan food. I don't know, but we didn't disrupt your nutritional values. I know with this message. There's a lot more. There's a lot more where this came from. And I have felt this kind of like, oh my goodness, my God, and goodness, blissed in state throughout, throughout the time I've been sharing. And that was a uniqueness. And that's what allowed some people to notice me right away. That even from the beginning, there were these messages of like, oh my goodness, where did that come from? And who is this new person on the scene that now realizes she is a channeler and can channel? What the heck? This is different. This is different. It just feels different. And it doesn't have to be counter to what anyone else is saying. It's just different. And I hope for a lot of great reasons. To me, anything new doesn't have to be a substitute to something else that you may be loyal to or another, community that you're loyal to. This could be a compliment, right? I do eat meat and I do love condiments. I love salt with my red meat. And this can just be this salt on your veggies or the salt on your protein, whatever it is, salted almonds even. Okay. I love you guys so much. Thank you, Deb. She's saying we love you, Jill. I love you too. Love you guys so much. Thank you for everything. Mwah. Enjoy. Bye-bye. And happy Easter and happy Passover and happy Ramadan and happy day. Just happy day. Happy you. I love you. Bye-bye.